First of all, I'd like to introduce my colleague and fellow presenter, Erin Drakey.
That's not how you say my name.
Erin Drakey.
No.
Are you telling me for the past 2 years I haven't said your name correctly?
Apparently not.
What if I say a little louder? Erin Drakey?
No, it's Erin Drake. How can you get that wrong?
That's embarrassing. Erin.
Okay, well, I'm really excited to announce my co-presenter, Fahed Abu Ghazaba.
Not bad.
I practiced for 2 days straight on that. So our session today is how to develop effective and dynamic managers. So let's talk about why we're here. We received some feedback from an attendee last year about the whole topic of managers, and it sparked some really interesting conversations on what motivates them, how they're measured, and what RQ4 can do to help. So the comment was, I took so much home from the summit. As a new manager in the last 6 months, I'm still learning and growing in my position. I learned many new leadership skills, as well as ways to keep a positive environment and ways to better relate to my staff. A++ from me. And so the question for us was how to make every single one of you feel this way. And unfortunately, we can't create a training video or a help file that lists the step-by-step instructions on how to develop effective and dynamic managers. But what we can do is give you the opportunity to hear from some of our clients who've done just that. So what works, what doesn't work, and what are some key things that they've learned along the way. So today we're going to be interviewing 3 of our clients, and they each have a really unique take on the whole management role and how to really maximize their manager's potential.
All right, thank you, Erin. So before we get into our esteemed panel, I would like to discuss what it means to be a successful manager. If you're expecting a reading from The Secret, I promise you I'm not going to get into it. It's going to be quite brief, and I think most of you know what this is about. So primarily, a manager must know what's going on at his locations at all time, to be engaged and involved. He must be knowledgeable to answer questions from both his customers and staff with confidence and ease. A manager has the capacity to plan, organize, and delegate. After all, you're not doing it all by yourself, and they also need to be a good teacher, willing to get their hands dirty to facilitate and encourage the desired behaviors of their employees by leading the way. Let me break it down a bit further. Essentially, a good manager exhibits 5 practices of exemplary leadership. Let me see if I got it. As I previously mentioned, first you must model the way. When you're a good leader, all eyes are on you. You must exhibit the behavior you want reflected in your employees. It's as simple as that. For example, engage customers as you want your employees to engage them. Next, let me hit the slide. You must inspire a shared vision. An effective manager envisions the future, but also inspires others to share in these goals. Ask yourselves, what is our mission? How do we get there from here? And how do I motivate others in this? Next, challenge the process. In the words of Winston Churchill, to improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. Breaking up the monotonous routines of every day and trying to find creative ways to solve everyday problems may perhaps find you a better solution. A manager must enable others to act. This is achieved by fostering collaboration and strengthening others. I know it kind of sounds a bit paradoxical, but a good leader is more essential when collaboration is required. You have to create that climate of trust and facilitate relationships within the company. And finally, you must encourage the heart. I know it kind of sounds a bit cheesy.
It's my favorite one.
Essentially, this is the recognition of contributions, the ability to celebrate values and victories. If you expect the best and set clear expectations, you can keep your employees engaged and can create the conditions for success.
And if you were in Stacy's commission panel yesterday, one of the things that she talked about was that 50% of people would leave their current position for more recognition. And also, if you were at that panel, Scott Levinson mentioned that he pays in hugs and kisses, so there's a great example on encouraging the heart.
All right, with that, I would like to bring the 3 people we'll be interviewing who exhibit these fundamentals and to share their experiences in it with us.
So first, we would like to welcome Teresa Vanderveen. She has worked for mybullfrog.com since 2001. She started doing data entry and commission, and now handles all of the inventory and logistics for the company. You can have a seat anywhere. And her favorite title for herself is Button Builder. Thank you, Teresa. Next, we have Wes Filson. Wes has been with Jump.ca for 10 years. He first started as a retail associate working part-time, which I'm pretty sure Wes was in high school at that time, correct? Yeah. He then became store manager in 2005 and has now moved into the really unique position of retail coach. He is also a minor celebrity on the local Canadian TV morning news as the Jump.ca tech guru. And last but absolutely not least, we have John Cruz. And John is the sales manager for AT&T Product Center and responsible for 21 stores in New York and New Jersey. He has been with the organization for 5 years, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
So nobody messed with him.
Nobody messed with him. And has been in sales for the last 22 years. So thank you guys so much for joining, and we're just going to get started.
All right, so before we get into the general questions we're going to ask the entire panel, Teresa, what is a button builder?
A button, you build a new item, that's a button. Anytime you set up a new phone activation wizard, that's a button. So it's a button builder. Every day I build buttons.
She gave us her bio a few days ago, and Fahed and I actually made an effort not to ask her because we wanted to hear what a button builder was with all of the rest of you.
All right. How about Wes? What is a retail coach? What does that mean?
Well, I have to choose my words carefully because my boss is in the room and I'm going to go by what she sent me. So I have notes in front of me, so bear with me. But due to the fact that I had 10 years in sales, they decided to move me into a position where I could coach staff, for lack of a better word, and not only staff but managers as well. And so it's kind of weird because I took this job where I was working entirely in sales, and I'm selling cell phones, I'm trying to build packages, I'm trying to sell accessories, increase attachment ratio, and they wanted me to move more into a human resources position. So now I'm actually in that human resources tree, which is kind of unique for me. So what a retail coach does, it essentially encompasses the store ops, sales, employee development, customer service, and it all leads back to one thing, developing and coaching all managers and the employees. So yeah, that's what a retail coach is.
Awesome.
Perfect, thank you.
And one final question for John. When we were talking yesterday, getting ready for this presentation, you had mentioned some challenges that you'd faced. I thought that was really interesting, and I think many people would benefit from you describing that a bit further.
Well, I think the challenges that we face as a company, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to echo the sentiment of a lot of folks here, and the biggest challenge is probably the increased profit margins from the carriers to the dealer. So here we are, we have staff, people that are dedicated, that we work hard, and we try to train for years, and many of these folks stay with us for a long time, which is great because it shows that we're successful in motivating them and keeping them happy. But think of how difficult it is to motivate a staff that every year they work harder, their sales will increase 15 to 20%, but they're making less money. So that increased profit margin from the carriers affects all of us, but it trickles down to the sales staff, the frontline folks. Those are the folks that make it happen. So what do you do to motivate those people on a daily basis? So the idea is for us, and the challenge for everyone is trying to come up with new ways of making money. We can't wait for the carriers to tell us, hey, this is a great way of making money. We can't wait that long. That's way too long. We have to think of what's going to sell, what's the hot new product, how we're going to sell this, and find new ways of selling. Years ago, the carrier gave us a deck of cards and said, this is the game we want you to play. If you play this game, you will make money. Then the last 3 years, they've been changing the deck of cards and changing the game. Now we're playing dominoes, but I've got news for you. I'm very good at dominoes. And if we play Pinochle next year, I'm going to learn how to play that game too. And that's how everyone should be looking at the industry and saying, well, this is the business. This is the way it's changing. We have to change with it. We have to be better.
The key is being proactive.
We have to. There's no way. So, I'm pretty sure most people feel that way.
Thank you. So now we're going to go with some questions that we would like each one of the panel members to answer. And so we're not just throwing these at them for the first time today. We sent them a list of questions, and we came up with a big list and kind of asked them to pick which ones they felt comfortable answering. And this one in particular really stood out to us because each one of them had a very unique answer. So the question is, what are your top measures and why? And just whoever would like to start, go ahead.
So I guess ladies first, right? So when we measure, we try to keep it focused for our teams. And so we look at a level and we say, okay, what's most important? Well, contracts is number one, right? The more contracts you have, that's what keeps our carriers happy. Then you go into your total gross profit as a company, and then we drill down and we look at accessory gross profit. And the reason we only focus on 3 is because when you focus on those 3, at the end of the day, that's what makes you money. That's what pushes your company forward and makes you successful. The tools that we put in place, and we call it a toolbox, all those tools in your toolbox are there to grow gross profit, to grow accessory gross profit, and to grow total contracts. Whether that's a trade-in program, that's accessories, whether that's a loaner program, an insurance program, it's all about that gross profit. It's a narrowed view, so if we ask our guys, they have focus in their day. They know they have 3 items they look at, but they also have all these other things that help build those 3 items.
All right, I'll go in the order. With that, we have really 5 key metrics that we follow. That's very easy to follow. We have a warranty percentage, so that's simply how many warranties we sold divided by how many phones that we sold. So that, we try to achieve at least 50%. With that, we also have an accessory ratio total that we try to achieve, which is 2 accessories for every phone that we sell. And then we also have a total profit per device. And so with that, we take all the profit that an employee makes using these simple sales by employee reports and divide by how many devices that we sold. That's a very easy way to determine how employees are driving your average sales. And then we also lean towards customer service as well, simply because it can't be sales metrics only. And we have a very high standard for our customer service. And honestly, it's very difficult for us to achieve right now just simply because customer service surveys can somewhat seem so untenable, especially when the carriers are doing these surveys. So with that, I have to be doing training with these staff. I have to sit down with them, especially when they're new. We take a 1-week training program, and I sit down with them in a boardroom and I drill down the questions that are in their heads. So I make sure that I coach them on these different questions. But not only that, I have to deliver, I guess, a sense of empathy for these employees. I have to make sure that they understand what the customers are going through, which is kind of an immeasurable. We have to make sure that customers are going to be leaving as happy as possible when they come into our stores. And how do you gauge that? You really can't. But we just have to make sure that we're constantly watching and determining what they're doing. And I guess I should mention the 5th metric that we measure, and that's simply email percentage. We try to track how many emails an employee collects for every customer that they put into RQ4, and that's for obvious reasons, to save paper, to increase our marketing campaign. But these different types of metrics are very, very important to us, and they're very easy to measure. But again, it all boils down to what customers are experiencing when they're actually in the store as well, which is very, very tricky to measure. So that's something that I encourage every one of you to do, to sit down with your staff and have conversations with them and determine what is happening. I know that a lot of us in this room, we determine a lot of our newer employees, especially the ones that we just hired, they're almost like liabilities. I feel that is a huge misconception, just simply because if we take them within their 1st or 2nd week and we put them in an environment where they can be learning and buying into the whole sales process and buying into the Jump.ca means of working, then they can take that enthusiasm and carry it. I find that a lot of our older reps, they have a lot, I won't say lesser customer service, percentage scores, but they certainly, they lose that glimmer, I guess. They lose that luster for the job. And that's another thing that's always a challenge that really doesn't get measured by any type of metric that we have. But we have to make sure that we let our staff know that this job can be exciting. I know we're talking about commission, right? And how we have to pay employees, less commission due to the fact that our margins are being affected by it. And so we have to make sure that the staff know that this job can be exciting. And so one thing I always try to do with staff is I try to put them in the perspective of the customer. That's why I was speaking about empathy before. And for me, I probably sold, I don't know, 8,000 phones. I've sold a lot of phones. And my 8,000th phone this gets a lot less exciting, I guess, for me than it was for my first or second phone. But for a lot of people, imagine a university student upgrading from their old, I don't know, their old feature phone. They're finally getting to the iPhone 5 or the Samsung Galaxy S3. How exciting is it for that person when they come into the store and they want to purchase this new phone for them? And how many of our reps are just saying, okay, here's a SIM card. That total is going to be, $150 or whatever it is. Thanks. This is your contract. Good job. Congratulations on your phone. There's no enthusiasm. There's no, love for the job. But if they share within that enthusiasm with the customer, they're going to find that there's a lot more enjoyment out of this job. And I guess another problem that we have too is that people think that this job is easy, but it's not. This job is not working at Guess, or it's not working at a clothing store. Sorry, I don't mean to demean anybody who works at Guess in this room if that's the case. But I am saying that within Jump.ca, you have to know about IQ metrics. You have to know that software, which is very easy to use, thank you. We have to know the carrier software. We have to know the different iOSs that are out there. And so we have to have a means of training. And so with that, we have to have sit down with them and let them know, look, we know this job isn't easy, so you have to take a certain amount of pride in what you do. Again, it's not really immeasurable with how we can determine that, but this is something that we do try to focus on, and it's something that we try to work with each of our employees.
Wes, so Fahed and I are both CSMs, and we get a lot of clients that ask for advice on things. Two really common questions are, how can we increase our warranty, and how can we increase email collection? And since those are two of your measures, do you have any suggestions for people on how to really motivate their sales staff on emails?
Yeah. Well, email is easy. That's the absolute easiest one you can do. First of all, again, 75% of our customers, that's the basement of the expectations that we have for our reps. But honestly, who doesn't have an email address anymore nowadays, right? I believe that that there's still a stigma about collecting email addresses, that staff are either worried about you intruding with privacy or something like that. But with our staff, we just simply say, look, you have to tell them that you need the email address. You say, okay, so what's your cell phone number? Type the cell phone number in. Okay, what's your address? Okay, type the address in. Okay, what's your email address? That's it. You don't ask, hey, can I have your email address? Is it okay if I collect this? It's not a big deal. Customers, they don't think it's a big deal, and if they say no, that's fine. But honestly, it's simply just a matter of telling them, look, we need this. As for warranty percentage, I will admit it is a little bit easier. I work with SaskTel, and SaskTel, they have an option for financing, and so I can't really go into detail about that. But with just regular purchasing of the warranty, it's a matter of selling that value. And a lot of people are intimidated to sell a warranty for particular devices. I know for insurance for a device, we just heard it in that keynote presentation how we have to increase those add-ons. And the simple fact of the matter is that customers, they're investing more money into the most valuable tool that they have in their pocket, their cell phone, than a lot of other things in their household. So they have a monthly bill of, say, $50 a month. They're paying over the course of 36 months $1,800 just for this cell phone. That's not including taxes. That's not including other features that they might not have on there. They're making an $1,800 investment. Suddenly, we're not seeing we're seeing a lot more return for our investment for a phone that we take out, and we take out to parties. We sleep with it underneath our pillow. Again, the most important thing that we have. There's a lot of value in protecting that, and considering we have that danger element to it, insurance is absolutely one of the most certain things that you should be selling to all of your customers.
Thank you.
So, as far as top measures, there's a slew of measures that I like to report on, and we need to report on to figure out the profitability of our company. So obviously, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure, again, most people may agree with this, gross profit is king. So it's not just merely gross profit. I mean, great, we're making money, but we wanted to drill it down to the employee level, and we wanted to drill it down as much as possible just to get an idea of who's selling the most, and hopefully use this information as a means of also motivating the staff. So I'll tell you what I mean. Our company decided to create a BI report, and we created this BI report to give us the productivity per employee on a per hour basis. So getting the most opportunities was something that we always wanted to get, because we figured the more opportunities, the more GP. And by opportunities, I mean any new activations or upgrades or even prepaid activations are counted in that metric. But it's not just that anymore. So we need to find out which employee is selling the most on a per hour basis. So if they work a 40-hour work week or a 100-hour work week, which they did, you know, they'll probably be dead. But we want to find out not how many opportunities they're getting, how many are selling per hour. We want to know what the total GP is for the month. We want to know what the total GP is per hour. We also want to tell the employee, this is how much commission you made last month, and this is what it breaks down per hour, on a per hour basis. So now they can say, wow, that's really not as much as I thought I was making. Or we have top performers who are making above $12 an hour and low performers making $3.50, $4 an hour. So how do we get those people making $3.50 or $4 an hour up to 12 or 8 or even 6? Any improvement is better than 3 or 4. And we need to show them this. So it's been, I mean, BI has been a savior in regard to that aspect. And then we took the BI report and we created an internal stack ranking report. And the internal stack ranking report gets sent out to the employees every day. And on that stack ranking report are all kinds of metrics that we want them to hit. On it, it will say total number of opportunities, total number of tablet sales, wireless home phone sales, even data plans of 10 gig or higher, and then not just the accessories as a bundled package, but what type of accessories, how many cases, how many power scans or chargers. You know, it's broken down, and it becomes a ranking, and they look at it every day and they say, holy cow, I'm in 40th place. That's like last place. I better start moving. And then you get the people that are in like 7th or 8th place. They say, you know what? If I can be in 7th or 8th, I could probably be in 3rd or even 1st place. So it's a motivating tool. And again, all the information is extracted. So we have to be better at trying to motivate the staff. And salespeople, when you're in that frame of mind, if you're a salesperson, you want to be challenged. You want to win. So when you see these numbers and you're at the bottom, you're like, uh-oh. I don't want to be in the bottom. So even the folks that are in the bottom, they may feel they may not necessarily win, but they don't want to be at the bottom. Yeah. And they fight. So, and that gives the DMs and me an opportunity at a glance to see where we're at and who needs the most help. And we try to work toward that. So all these metrics are important for me. There's so many. Obviously, the bottom line is GP is king. It's king for all of us. So trying to figure out how you're going to break it down and then take that data and use it to your advantage is the trick. So, you know, it's a balancing act. But I think that with these 2 BI reports, and if, folks, I got to tell you, if you're not using BI, it is a wealth of information. It just customizes everything, and it makes reporting so much easier. I used to run
much better now with the changes.
5, 6, 7 reports to get information, and I could just run a report. That takes 5 minutes. It's
pretty loaded too, right? So you can just click on it and then it's just ready to go.
That's it. It's perfect. You cut and paste. I could send out pretty sheets and put little colors on it, just like, you know, so everybody can. It's easier, you know. You put the little colors. Everyone go, ooh, green means good, red means bad. And it just, you know, it really is a time saver.
Just the level of transparency you have through these BI reports really empowers your employees and does create that condition for success. I think that's amazing.
Ability with BI to take a store that's not performing, and, you know, just like you said, GP is king, and we have different measures that go into our 3 measures that we look at. But we're able to, with BI, take that, look at a store and say, where are they failing versus all these other stores that are hitting, correct? And that's how you do it. So as a manager, instead of having to run around and figure out who's my problem, where's my problems at, you can quickly at a glance look at a report and say, here's where I need to spend my day. What's going on in this store? And BI gives you the ability to identify that store, drill down to a single 1 or 2 employees and say, you know what, I don't need to bother this guy that's my champion here. I need to go after these 2 new guys or this guy that's maybe stagnant and help him out. And find out if it's a hurdle, what's going on in their life. Because at the end of the day, dude, if something crappy is going on in an employee's life, it's going to affect everything going on in their cells.
And I think that's why that profit per device is so handy too. Although, you know, gross profit is king, we have employees who achieve high profit levels, but their actual profit per device is, you know, average at best. And so they obviously are in a high impact area and they deal with a lot of customers. That's when we have to look at those particular employees and see how can we even increase our A+ employees versus what we see anyway, just look at that gross profit total.
So really quick, and this is a question, this question was asked in our company, and we pondered over it, and the question was, which is more important, GP per handset, including accessories, or total gross profit? And we had to answer that question, so I'm going to let them think about that, and we'll maybe revisit at the end.
Fair enough.
So how do you really motivate your employees the way you want?
Well, I'll speak for us. Again, going back to that stack ranking report, we take that report and we use it as a way of rewarding our employees, the top 2 district managers, the top 2 store managers, and the top 2 employees, an opportunity to come with us to the summit every year. So for the last 10 months or so, we take the highest ranking employees, so we rank them all, and those employees that are still with us for an entire year's period, we take the worst 2 scores, we kind of throw them out, take their top 10 scores for the month, or top 9, whatever's left, and we add them up. Those that have the fewest points are the ones that rank the highest throughout the year, and that's how we reward the employees. So they're motivated all year round. So it's not just, I don't want to be last, or it's really nice to be first. It's like, you know what, if I can do this enough times, I can go to the summit and experience, you know, what it feels like at a higher level, what the industry's about. Because when you're in the front lines, it's just me trying to make money, go home, trying to pay the bills, and yeah, I gotta make my guys happy, I gotta make my boss happy, yeah, they like me, great. But what else do you do to motivate those people? This is all they talk about. They want to see, oh, I can win, I can go on this trip. And that's a huge, huge impact, I think, on people in my company. So we use that as a means of, you know, motivating people. I mean, it's always important to remember that even those folks that just may miss it and not have won the trip, but they were so close, you need to acknowledge those folks too. You need to, every month during a sales meeting, say, these are my top guys, these are my top people, these are the people that are top guns this month. And taking a top gun, which is a reference from AT&T, you know, but hey, I'll take whatever I can to motivate the staff. So it's just, I think it's worked out great.
You've got a lot of people here, so you must have some pretty awesome employees.
There's nothing wrong with a little healthy competition, never hurt anybody, right?
No, not at all.
I find that that does work too, to an extent, because we also have a similar competition where we have a year-round, where employees are based on, again, those metrics, customer service and profit per device. And we send them to Mexico. We have a couple of employees, we send them on an all-inclusive trip, all-inclusive resort to Mexico, which is awesome. You know, staff love it, except, you know, we have a certain cream of the crop that always exceed the expectations. We always have those A-type employees who are constantly, you know, hitting those targets, and they're, you know, going to be winning these types of competitions. So it's very tough to motivate all employees with incenting them with trips and stuff like that. I find that just having conversations with employees as well, just asking how they're doing, how are things with your store, how are things with you know, with customers, just sitting down with them. Just, you know, it could be on a monthly basis. You can do, you know, your reviews, which a lot of us I hope do in here, but just to even call them up and just, you know, just say, hey, how are you? That really does go a long way with a lot of employees, and that's something that we kind of forget too. I remember when I first started with Jump.ca, I don't know if you guys know this, Kelly Kazikoff, the COO of IQ Metrics, he is also our CEO of Jump.ca. And when I first started out, it was in May of 2004, I had almost a year under my belt, and I got an email from Kelly, and it just said, hey, you had a great month, keep up the good work, and something like that. It just me, just this regular part-time employee who had a pretty good month, I should say so myself, but to get that type of recognition, it's important, and that motivated me. I was not looking to make Jump a career path. I did not intend that, but that is one of the tipping points of just somebody having even the decency to send me an email and say, hey, this is awesome, keep up the great work. And that really did motivate me to continue to do well with this company.
Cool, I like it. So engagement, If I had to pick one word, it's what do we do with our employees to motivate them? We engage them. You know, I can stand here and I can tell somebody something. I can tell an employee about inventory or the new latest accessory, but one of the things that we've changed in our company is we engage our front line and we ask them. They're the ones that have to sell it. They're the ones that have to pitch it to the consumer. They're the ones that have to, at the end of the day, they have to take it out there. And it's funny how you can take a product that's sitting in our store and I'll throw it out and we'll ask, what do you think about this product? Can you sell it? Can you not? Would you bring it in? Would you not bring it in? And we let them decide now on some stuff. Do you want it? 98% of the time, they say yes, they want it. The cool thing about asking them about that engagement on that product is when they see it come into their store, they take ownership of it. And so they see a product, they're like, oh, I saw that last month. I said, yes, I wanted it. They already know about the product. They know what it does. And we've asked them, instead of me going and finding the research, I throw it out there enough. I say, what do you know about this product? They go get it, and they come back and they tell me what they know about the product. So when it's a new program we're launching, it's new insurance we're launching, whatever it is, we ask them to go do the research. They go do it. That's like taking your management staff and watching it just mushroom, and it's just like, and everybody's these little spores going around, and they're excited. We did this whole new program, and we said, we need a name for this program. And I got 300 responses within 2 days. It was, and before we're like, are you breathing? Are you there? And so we took those 300 responses, reduced it down to 10 and said, now you vote. And they voted and it came back and we have a name. And the kid that named the program, oh my gosh, he's like a rooster. He didn't win anything, he didn't get anything, but he walks around with pride. He's like, that's my name. I named that, you know? So it's about engagement. It's about knowing, you know, why do you go to work every day? And we ask them, you know, who's your family? Do you know if your employees have families? Do you know if they're kids? We have a district manager right now whose father's dying of cancer. He's out more than he's in, and we just told his team, we said, here's his story, here's what's going on in his life, can you help? He's not there, and his team is kicking butt while he's out taking care of his dad. So, you know, and I agree, in a world where money is, you know, it gets harder and harder, they have to work harder, they have to do more to activate phones. But you talk about heart, you do stuff like that and you just have to tell them, you don't have to go into details, but you tell your employees what's going on, they will die for you. They will bleed for you and die for you. But if you keep them dark and you try to keep them in this little bubble, they feel like they're in a bubble and they have no say.
When we talked last week, you said you kind of had an aha moment where you realized that you were hearing what people were saying, but nobody was actually listening to what people were telling you, and that kind of changed everything. Yeah,
and it was an aha moment. I don't know how many of you have done the ETR training with Verizon, but ETR is, they call it earn the right, but it's about listening to everybody you come in contact with. Most people are not listening, they're waiting to talk. And so they're not listening to what that person they're talking to is saying, they're just waiting for their turn to interject. My aha moment was, am I listening to what they're saying and what they need? Because a lot of times, it's never something huge. It's always something tiny. It's always a pat on the back. So it's not just, it's not a pat on the back, it's that recognition, not just from me, it's, you know, the CEO, the directors, the presidents, and they know each other. You know, obviously you can't know 300 employees, but you can know your directors and your area managers, and when you do that to them, they're going to do it to their employees, and when they do it to their employees are going to do it to their customers. So, and I know, I mean, my boss knows so much about me, and I do anything for him just because he cares.
The culture of the company is whatever the leaders of the company want to make it. So if you love your people and you really have passion for what you do and you really care, it's going to show. So what's going to happen is, has anybody ever worked in a company where you just went to work because you knew that you had to make money, and that's the only reason? And you thought, boy, if I can only get a job that paid me just a little bit more, I'm out of here tomorrow. I'm gone. It's like when you win the lottery. If I win the lottery, I'm out of here. You know, that's almost that effect. But the lottery to some people would have been that new job that's going to just pay you a few $1,000s more a year. What's the staying power? What is it? Why do people feel like they're part of something bigger? It's the culture, and it starts from the top up. So if my president, Mark Butler, and my vice president, Tony Saraceni, didn't feel this and didn't share, it wouldn't trickle down. The trickle-down effect works. I mean, it could work positively, or it could work very negatively. So, you know, and you know what they say, what rolls downhill, when it gets to the bottom, you're like, you know, it's always a negative annotation to that. So it's all about culture. So you got to really believe in what you do. You got to believe in your people, and you got to want to do this at some level. If you don't want to do it, you may be in it for the wrong reasons. You know, I know that it's all about making money, I mean, obviously, but it's all about how can I make this experience better? And that's how I feel. So you got to ask yourselves, when you leave today, how do I like working and doing what I'm doing? I know it's stressful, but everybody's got stress. But at the end of the day, you can say, you know, I like these people. I like what I do. I wouldn't change this for the world. And that's how I feel. And I think some people will react to that. And sooner or later, you're going to find those people. When you find those people, make no mistakes, those are your leaders. Those are the people you start to groom, because those are the believers. And those are the ones that you want.
Creating great experiences. That sounds familiar.
We sent everyone these questions ahead of time, and we had some pretty good responses on this, so I'm kind of excited to hear what they're going to have to say.
I'll start with this one. The most important task of any manager is simply to coach. It is not to monitor the numbers. It is not to, well, you know, I guess that is a form of coaching, but to determine what the strengths and weaknesses are of your staff, and to simply be there for them. And you know, if you train your managers, they'll be able to. Again, it rolls downhill, and you're able to have your managers train your employees correctly. So, without a doubt, you should always be coaching. You should always be taking the time to find out what the sales rep is doing correctly, and you know, notice it, recognize it, and that is a higher level of coaching. So that's just my short answer.
I'll take this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So as far as managers, so you're looking at the people that report to you, and I think the most important task is really managing the people. And again, you see a lot of organizations, there's dealers here like Brian Wainwright, I don't know if he's here, but he has I think he has a culture where people really respect him, and the people that roll up to him and the people that roll down, I see a lot of positive energy with those folks whenever I meet them or interact with them. Same thing with like Danny Locke and Wireless Jungle. So you know a lot of people that are in the industry, and you look at them and you admire them for certain things they do and how they act. And I look that way at our leaders, and I say, you know, these guys, I admire them. I like these people. These people are great. And, you know, obviously you want to take those strengths and you want to build on them, but it's managing people. So they're going to manage people just as I'm going to manage people. And the important thing is motivating your staff and listening to them. Sometimes the people in the front line, they know what they want to do. They just lack the guidance or the structure to achieve it. So they need a little guidance, a little structure. And what's funny is, it's not just managing the staff, but, and I'm sure people will chuckle here, but when you go to a carrier, sometimes I've learned that you can't just go to the carrier and say, I have a problem, I need you to fix it. You can't do that, it doesn't work. You have to say to the carrier, I have a problem, but I have 2 or 3 solutions, and these are the solutions. Solution A, solution B, solution C. If you can help me get one of these solutions, I can take care of the problem. And I'll go, so now you're managing people that work for the carrier. Now, not everybody in the carrier is that way, but you'll find a few roadblocks. You're like, wow, I've given you solutions. It's like drawing, you know, bringing a horse to water. You can't make them drink it. You got to bring the horse to water, and you got to say, look, this is how you drink it. You can use a spoon. You can use your hand. You can use a cup. You can just put your head in the water. It's like you got to show them how to drink it. And sometimes that's what I'm faced with. So you can't just say, here's my problem, fix it. You got to say, okay, I have a problem. What do I need to solve this problem? And then you bring it to them. And I think it works both ways with your staff, and it works with the people that you work with on the other end, which is the carrier. So, and that to me is the most important task. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, that's serious. You guys said it all. I mean, for us, I'm going to build on what you guys said because I totally agree with everything you've said. I mean, that's all that. Our one statement we tell our managers is inspect what you expect. You know, they're not the end-all, be-all. Their job is to, our directors. You're inspecting your area managers to make sure that they're doing the criteria that we've laid out and getting all the things we've asked them to do. We don't want them in the stores cleaning the stores. We don't want them in the stores doing the mundane details. We want them making sure that their managers are in there doing those details. They're managers. It's not their job to sit in the store and make sure every transaction goes down. It's to coach, like you guys are saying, and make sure that the employees are presenting to their consumers correctly, and then coach back on the back check. So it's inspecting what you're expecting them to do, and then following up with those coaching tasks. Come back in. Where's your weakest link? What can you do to fix it?
I think that's a great point, going back to your weakest link too. I always feel that whenever there is some sort of manager or some employees that are falling behind, I put that on me. I don't put that on them. There's no such thing as a bad student, it's only a bad teacher, right? So you have to be able to make sure you understand, did I give them the expectations? Are they clear on what expectations I've laid out for them? And that's one thing a lot of us maybe don't understand, is that there are employees out there who are not a cream of the crop. They're just their bottom of the barrel, and sometimes we can send out those numbers and they're not going to be motivated. What have we done to make sure that they are aware and that they're buying in? And again, that goes back to what we said previous, is to have these kinds of conversations with them and be aware that where they're coming from. It's not on them, it is on us to make sure that they succeed. And if we've given them all the training that they can and they're still scraping the bottom of the barrel, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, unfortunately. So.
Perfect. So a question that we just get asked all the time talking to clients is, what do other people do? What do other people do? So we want to give you guys the opportunity now, if you have some questions.
This is great stuff, guys. Thanks for sharing your insights. One of the things that I face is when the carrier sends out like a late-breaking initiative. Usually my company, we send out an email, and I was just curious how you guys, A, get your people to read your emails, and just have that accountability that they...
I think if we had a solution for that, I think we would be billionaires by now. But it is a challenge. So I'm pretty sure everybody laughed at it because they all understand that challenge. One of the things that we try to do is that we do conference calls. So when there's a late breaking news, and late breaking, I mean late breaking to us. The carrier probably knew about it 3 weeks ago and forgot to send out the email to us. So we'll try to get on a conference call. So we have a company-wide conference call, and we do send out the emails. We do send text message blasts. I have a lot of the DMs that have their own groups. So when they get the emails, it's their responsibility to now take that message and relay it to a staff. And they're creative. They know what works for them. So they'll say, oh, my team responds very well to the text message blast, or my team responds well on GroupMe. So they all have their own ways of doing it. We do try to have the conference calls, and lately we've been having a lot of video chats. And the video chats are good because you get on, even Google Plus offers that. And you can get on, and these people are in front of you. And as you're staring at them, you can tell whether they're interested, not interested, if they're having cereal, if they're dressed. You can see their expressions, you can see everything about them. And often you can't see that in a conference call. So when you're having a video chat and you're speaking to them, you're trying to get out this very important late breaking news, and you're looking at someone, you say, you know what, Tim, you seem to be a little confused, or I'm not sure if you're with us here. Is everything okay? Is there anything you need to know? Or, did you get that? It's very similar to having a meeting in front of the masses. You can take a look at people's reactions and know that either this person may be confused, or we may need to revisit this issue and discuss a little further. So that's why the video chats have been very, to me, I think they've been great. And that's what we do. So the emails do work. Half of the times, it's what we do once we receive those emails. You have to make sure that if the management team you have in place, they have to read their emails. If they don't read their emails, you got to replace the management staff. And then what they do to trickle that information down to the people that report to them is very important.
So we have an intranet piece that we have for our company set up, and we have a hot sheet, what we call a hot sheet send out, and it goes out via email, but on the back end analytics, we can tell if a manager opened it or the director opened it, if they've read, how long they spent in that message that we sent out. But when it comes down to urgent, and I agree with you, there is nothing better than a phone call, than that personal one-on-one. Here's the situation, guys. We got to get this out. How do you think we do it the best way? And 99% of the time, those guys take it and they run it to their floors. Now, we also have an intranet where if it's that urgent, we post it there, and it's kind of like a Facebook. Our teams have to log in there every day, and there's a forum, and whatever's hot is right at the top. If it's that hot, we can put a banner across the screen, so it's just scrolling across there.
I don't think the urgent emails are the problem. I think it's the semi-urgent emails that are the problem for the most part too, because the urgent emails, well, everyone's talking about it, word of mouth, it generally travels around. But the semi-urgent emails, like, how do we get it through to those? And I know for me and the management team that we have at Jump, we've limited emails from when we had before. Employees, I know myself, I was always inundated with all these emails. I was a part-time employee. I don't have time for these. You can't simply send emails just left and right. Well, so what we do is that we actually have a weekly report that our HR team sets up, and it sends it out as this is what's happening. These are the promotions that are happening within all the company, and then we just have the managers go through that list with the employees that are working that day, and that's once a week. It is not a total untenable job. It's very easy for them to do, and it's really important stuff that people just find compounded into that weekly document. So people know that the Jump weekly report that's coming out, it's going to be filled with really good stuff. If you send each one in an individual email, it tends to get lost in the mix. I know I don't read those emails as much as I'd like to, and so that weekly report, I know what's in there, I should be paying attention to. And if I'm not, I can at least be trusted that my manager will be going over those types of topics with me.
It's a really good question.